Welcome to the Boxing Source Midweek Report, where we tackle the latest topics in the sport of boxing here up to this point every single Wednesday. Time to start the show. Yo, what's going on, everybody? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening, y'all? What's happening? We are here live with the Midweek Report for February 4th, 2026, man. We are here, man. What's good with everybody? Checking in on YouTube and Rumble, here with this midweek report. A few things here that we're going to be covering in this edition of the midweek report. We had a few things that's been going on over the past couple of days. And we got a few things that are playing here on the YouTube channel, like a couple of interviews that I have to, post up here, on both channels through YouTube and Rumble. And I have, one that is in the works for tomorrow and hopefully another one later this week. I gotta catch up with a couple of folks here from what was going down last weekend. So hopefully I could lock down a couple of more interviews for y'all here on this instance. But we got a couple of things here that we're going to be talking about, that have been going on over the course of this week so far. One of the, top stories here for the week had been of course, with the official announcement of the heavyweight bout between Derek Chisora and Deontay Wilder. That will be taking place at the O2 Arena on April 4th in London. We had, the announcement, the press conferences that took place. You had the face-off that was over in New York City earlier this week. And then you had the press conference that took place, pretty much a few hours ago over in London, promoting this fight. So you're going to be having Derek Chisora in his 50th professional fight. They're saying that this will be his last fight of his professional career, going up against Deontay Wilder, who will have his 50th fight here against Derek Chisora, of course, the former WBC heavyweight champion. Okay, now the thing is that they've kind of like propped this up, and they've had a number of things here where they've been talking about it. After the face-off that happened in New York City, they were able to do some press press questions and things like that. I had brother Matthew Brown of Brunch Boxing out there to go over and cover this particular event that was over in New York City, and he was able to have the conversations there with Deontay Wilder, Derek Chisora, also with Shelly Finkel and Amir Abdallah, Abdallah from MF Pro, right? So we got a couple of things here. I was able to post up the conversation that he had with Deontay Wilder and with Derek Chisora, and then after that, I'll be able to go into pretty much the news of what happened today. A few hours. I wouldn't say a few hours ago, but what I would say about 8-9 hours ago or so, because that was a little bit of a moment there, that happened over at TalkSport. So we're going to be pulling up that clip as well. But I wanted to get this thing on as far as like Deontay Wilder in his conversation with Matt Brown of Brunch Boxing. So I wanted to see if I could go ahead and pull it up here. Because we had a good conversation there with brother Matthew Brown. So I'm going to see here if we could run that here. Hopefully we got it queued up. Yeah, we got it queued up and everything like that. So we're going to be going through a couple of comments here from Deontay Wilder in this conversation here. Now, remember, this was basically on Monday. And then, we had the thing that happened on Wednesday, of course, with the press conference and the whole thing that, where they had the, what I would say, the press run of sorts there in the UK, including TalkSport. So we're going to get into a little bit here with Deontay Wilder there with Matt Brown of Brunch Boxing. So here it goes.
Again, April 4th, O2 Arena, London, England. Deontay Wilder versus Derek Chisora. Tell the people about your next fight, your 50th.
Man, Derek Chisora, call himself Derek War Chisora, and he calls himself War for a reason. Because every time he get in the ring, it's gonna be a war, no matter what. He's coming in with me. I'm coming with the excitement and the power. And when you put two guys like this together, that have the heart of a lion, that's relentless to whatever and strong-minded to come and go to alpha males in there trying to get to one goal, and that's to win. This fight right, this leads to you talking about excitement. You know, I would be highly surprised if this fight goes all the way to the end. I don't think the referee is gonna, the judges is not gonna be needed to make a decision in the end, because it's gonna be a knockout between either it's gonna be me or it's gonna be him.
Now, interestingly enough, it doesn't really feel like there's any like bad blood between you and Derek Chisora. The last guy that you fought that you were friendly with at the Barclays, Robert Hellenius, you put him out of his misery early, man. Is this how you treat your friends, Deontay?
I mean, we are in a business, and unfortunately, there has to be a winner, there has to be a loser, and we can't control what'll happen in that ring. We're throwing punches at each other, and you just never know when one lands, what would be the consequences behind it, And being friends with certain fighters and having to fight them, I have no problem with that. They're just like being on the playground. We fight each other, or having family, you fight. When you make up, you become stronger. Your relationship becomes stronger. And that's what we're looking at. With Derek, although I respect him highly, and I can't call him a friend of mine, but we got to do what we got to do. This is the business that we're in. This is how we make money to support our family. And now we got to compete against each other. May the best man win. I told him to go in and try to kill him. That's it.
Yo, he kind of like dropped that on there in reference to this particular fight that, they've had, Wilder and Chisora have had like communication between each other, for some time, and that, they kind of like built a rapport between each other, had like a little bit of a friendship. So, it was something there where they said, hey, maybe you could, get this done, make this happen, and that type of thing. And, both fighters like agreed to it. And they kind of like mentioned that there in the press conference that happened today over in the UK too, as far as like, how this fight got done and how maybe a lot of fights in boxing should get done. I think it was Chisora that, mentioned it. It's like, yo, you know what? In order to make this fight done, we just, chopped it up with each other. We, hit each other out, talked and see if you want to go ahead and fight, and got it done. Like they didn't need any, middlemen or nothing like that in order to make this happen. It almost reminded me of like, how folks had the thing with Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao, like meeting up over at the basketball game, and then a week or a couple of weeks later, the fight was made between Floyd and Manny. So now, we kind of like bringing this up, like saying like, hey, okay, I'm interested in having this fight. I ain't gonna, call, the promoter. I ain't gonna call the manager. I'm gonna be like, hey, yo, I'm gonna call the fighter themselves, or like try to send a message out to them and say, hey, yo, I'm interested in fighting you. I'm interested in making this fight. Like, are you down for it or not? And they basically just went ahead and made it happen. You know what I'm saying? So props to both of them, and getting it done, or making it happen, and getting this thing cracking. So I'm gonna go ahead and continue a little bit more here with this particular video. So hold on just a sec.
I want the best fight that could be had, and if this is the best that could be had at the moment of time, I want it to be a exciting one, a beautiful one that people will remember for years and years to come. And I truly believe that's what they're going to get with the Deontay Wilder and the Derek Chisora.
Now, in your last fight against Tyrell Herndon, you boxed beautifully. You did what you got to do. You got him out of there. How are you feeling from that fight going into this fight?
I feel amazing. With that fight, it was just a tester of me saying that I'm back mentally. Because I never physically left, spiritually left. It was just all mental. A lot of outside things mentally, that I had to deal with and overcome. So with Tyrell, he was basically a measuring stick to my mental state of being to see where I were. and what I was capable of doing and what I need to work on. And we got the answers to everything we need. But this time around, it should be it should be a great performance and a beautiful outcome. I'm looking forward to a devastating knockout. This is what I feel I need, a devastating knockout to really get that buzz, that excitement to allow people to understand Deontay Wilder truly bad.
Now, obviously, the rumors were that you were in talks to fight Alexander Usyk. Fight didn't get over the finish line in time, But is that a fight that Deontay Wilder is still looking for?
Oh, most definitely. Unfortunately, unfortunately it couldn't happen. It couldn't happen in a timely manner. It is what it is. The thing of the people want to know what happened is like I never stopped negotiation with Derek. While we were still trying to figure out what Usyk side wanted to do, where they wanted to fight, what dates and stuff like that. And, I'm an older fighter. I just can't sit around like a young fighter. The clock is ticking every minute, every second of the hour. So we gotta move. And if you know boxing, in the business of boxing that things either gonna go slow or it's gonna go real fast. There ain't no in between. You gotta be able to catch that shooting star when it comes your way. And we did. And when we capitalized on that and they got the date set for Chisora, that's when, Usyk them side was, hey, we ready to go to, I'm paraphrasing, but now they wanted to start negotiations and talk about different things, but I just can't sit out, you know what I mean? So we went on ahead with the Chisora fight, which I think is the best decision to be made because he's gonna show me even more where I am. With his style and with my style, it only is made for destruction. That's it. Something finna go. You know what I mean? And I love it though because God works in mysterious ways. We may have plans for things, but He have plans for us to go another way. And I never question Him, ask Him about the direction of the plans that He have, especially when I want it and I see it going another way. I say, yes, sir. Give me the ability and the mindset and the will and the skill to be able to handle anything that come my way. I also ask Him for clarity and confirmation of all things that come around me, so I may understand who's for me and who's not. Because at this moment in time in my career, I'm not playing around, and I don't have space or nor a place for negative people or anyone in my life. I'm good where I am in my life. That's with friends, that with loved ones, that with family. That I done took care of everybody around me, like literally everybody around me. Now it's time to take care of myself, and I'm gonna do that to the fullest.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Now, I want to talk to you about one of your rivals, Anthony Johnson.
Well, I mean, you get the thing as far as like that last question, right? Because Matt was asking about the potential fight that Wilder could have had against Alexander Usyk. That was like one of the bigger rumors there within the heavyweight division that we could have had Alexander Usyk, back in the ring, and that he would be going after Deontay Wilder. Actually, I like brought it up a couple of times in the past, podcast, in previous joints here, whether it was podcast or midweek report, even with Matt there of Brunch Boxing, we brought it up as far as like that could be the fight that Usyk would be looking for after him giving up that WBO heavyweight title. But apparently it just didn't ended up taking place. We know about the whole thing with IVB boxing that they want to have Alexander Usyk involved in one of their big events, and we just thought initially that hey, it was going to be Usyk versus Wilder. That would kind of like be that event that would, I guess, take place in San Francisco. But when IVB had made their actual press or announcement on the press conference, they didn't really talk about nothing about any type of fight lockdown or anything like that. So that's why Wilder's here saying like, "Hey, yeah, I know that they were talking about potentially having a fight, but he didn't feel like he wanted to sit around and wait out and all that type of stuff." So he said, "Hey, I got this here with Derek Chisora, making it happen. Hey, MF Pro, Misfits Pro, willing to invest in it." So that's what went down. That's what took place, and that's how it happened. So I think with Alexander Usyk, he says, hey, that fight could still be out there, but for the time being, it's focused on April 4th. We're about a couple months away from that, so Wilder's going to be in camp, Chisora's going to be in camp, and just preparing for this heavyweight bout. You know what I mean? So that's what they got going on here. Trying to see if y'all be able to get one of my guests or one guest here to join in and everything like that, right? So this is we're gonna continue on here with this conversation with Deontay Wilder, and then we're gonna bring up that clip there from TalkSport here in a bit. So here we go.
Joshua, obviously, we know that he had the car accident, tragically claimed the life of two of his best friends. I know you guys had a rivalry, but the kind of guy you are, I know you have some positive words that you want to send out to AJ. So have you had a chance to talk to him? And if you could say anything to him, what would you say to AJ right now?
I haven't talked to him at all. I sent him a message through a social media platform that did an interview, and again, the same message. My heart goes out to him. I know it got to be a devastating moment and a heartfelt moment to see your friends get decapitated like that. At least of the description of what I've heard that it happened. You know what I mean? They said one of them head was detached from his body and stuff, and to have had those guys in your crew, in your camps, helping you with your career, and to establish a friendship with them and to see things like that, man, I can only sympathize for him. I never know truly how it feels, but I've never had a loved one to go in those type of details of things. But I really pray strongly that his mind is shielded, protected, and all his loved ones is holding him tight every day to shield him and protect his heart from the world's ways of things. And hopefully mentally he'll able to come back and finish things what he started. You know what I mean? Especially with the fight with me. Let's finish what we started. And
so that's something you'll still be interested in.
Oh, for sure. I always tell people that ask that question. Like, as long as I'm in the business and he's in the business, and why not? I'm still up for that challenge. But it's all up to him. We don't know. I've heard he retired. He may have taken a mental break. I had to take me a little mental break as well. I heard he took a mental break, and we'll see what happens if he retired or not. But I wish him nothing but the best. I can't talk right now. I wish him nothing but the best, and may God bless.
Now, you took your mental break, you took your physical break, you came back against Tyrell Herndon. April 4th, you're back again against Derek Chisora. What can the people expect to see from the great Deontay Wilder?
Man, you want to see 1,000? You want to see over 1,000 degrees of heat in one arena? You want to be in a place that's gonna be so hot, you might well your attire is gonna be naked. That's gonna be an attire requirement. Naked. It's gonna be so hot up in that arena at that moment in time, and I'm just looking forward to it. I am. As we speak now, he's constantly on my mind. As I leave and go get in my car and head to my home, he will be on my mind. As I get on the plane and head to England, he will be on my mind. I will eat, breathe, and sleep here. Pause. You understand me?
Hey, picking up on the New York slang already. Let's go.
So, I just want the best fight to be had, and I want this fight to be an ultimate fight, that the most exciting fight that ever has been seen in boxing history. I know he's coming to make that happen. I'm coming to make that happen. We're gonna see what happens.
Hey man, don't blink.
Come
April
on.
4th.
Yeah, baby.
O2 Arena, Deontay Wilder. He comes again, ladies and gentlemen. Can we get a bomb squad for
Bomb squad?
Let's go, baby.
So there you go, man. There it is with Deontay Wilder. There, chopping it up, like I said, and everything like that. We just about to, have one of our guests here to join in here on the conversation here for the midweek report. You got my guy back here with Neverfold Sports in the building, man. What's happening?
Yo, Boxing Source, what's the word, buddy?
Yo, what's good, fam? What's good?
We cool, and I was just tuning in and listening to the audio you was playing.
Yeah, yeah, that was interview there with Deontay Wilder. Had brother Matt of Brush Boxing out there in New York City on Monday when they had the face off over there in New York. You know what I'm saying? So he was out there to chop it up with Wilder and Chisora out there. Before they went over to the UK and had their thing, man. So they've been pumping up their joint for their fight on April 4th. Their big heavyweight bout. We kind of like, as they have the saying goes, a crossroads fight. Derek Chisora, has been saying that he wanted to have 50 professional fights before, walking out the sport. And now he's having a 50th fight against the former WBC champion, Deontay Wilder, man. So, what do you think about that fight? And, what could be like your early predictions for it?
That's not a fight nobody asked for. It's happening. It's happening. We can't do nothing about it. I really wanted to see that Usyk versus Wilder fight, another fight nobody asked for. But if I had to pick, I'm picking Usyk versus Wilder. So, according to Wilder, he's saying that he don't want to be waiting around. It don't seem like they having a date, a venue, and he chose it with Chisora. But to his defense, he was already talking to Chisora. He mentioned that probably
Yeah.
like a month or two ago. I heard that myself.
Hmm.
So they've been talking, and that fight is like Wilder need to go in there and win. Because if he loses to Chisora, this guy, like, nobody asked for that fight, and you're supposed to be in talks with Usyk. So that's a fight that he gotta win. And then Chisora talking about this his last fight. It's like a toss up fight. Know what I'm saying? Like, cause we know Wilder been cooked since Parker, right? Got knocked out by Zane, and then even in his last fight versus Handon, like, he kind of looked like he need to be retired anyway. So in this fight, he got to bring it. He talking a good talk, but we'll see. But it's a toss-up fight. That's a fight that he needs to win. But it's happening. They promoting the fight, and yeah, we'll see on fight night.
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about those fights that Deontay Wilder had. What I would say, like in his previous six fights, I don't know if this would include the Tyrell Herndon fight, but it might. His record was like 2-4. You would have the losses to Fury, the two losses to Fury, and as you mentioned there, his loss to Joseph Parker and with Saleh Zhang, right? Um, and even with the fight that he had against Joseph Parker, like I said this like from like that time back, at least after the fight with Joseph Parker. Like they had like one moment where they had a still shot of Deontay Wilder in the corner, right? And you had like the folks in his corner, the head trainer, chief seconds, and everything like that. Trying to get him prepared, get him amped up and ready for the next round. But it looked like Deontay Wilder had a look like almost like he ain't even want to be there, or he wasn't even motivated anymore. You know what I mean? And for someone that's like a competitor or that's had that competitive spirit like Deontay Wilder, to kind of like see that, it was like, what? I don't know if I'm willing to be in this any longer. You know what I mean? So for him to like even go from that point there in the Joseph Parker fight to continue and then have the Zalay Zhang fight, and then even after that going up against Tyrell Herndon, it was like, okay, is he like extending his career longer than he should be? But we'll see what happens here. At this point, because he'll have this fight against Derek Chisora. If he gets to win, then they could line him up against Alexander Usyk, where he could have an opportunity to become a world champion again. Um, it was just at least for me, given what I've seen there against Tyrell Herndon, yeah, it looked like he, has a lot of work to do in order to, get to, I guess, the point to where he was like knocking folks out within the first 3 rounds or something like that.
He's,
You know what I
he's
mean?
never gonna be back at that stage. Even if you listening to the build up now, he's talking like the reason why he been losing because he been dealing with personal issues, and he been talking about him putting some female that's not even married to him on his will. You know what I'm saying? It's a bunch of stuff he talking about. Maybe that got something to do with it, but we know when in the style that Wilder been losing, bro, he's just his heart not in it no more. His spirit not in it, cause he's talking like he gotta go in this place. But bro, you see how happy he is with Chisora in a fight that he about to fight that he can possibly lose. Like, to me, he ain't never gonna get it back. But you know what they say, the power is the last to go. So if he still got that pop, he still has a chance.
Yeah, the thing was though, at least for me, when he had the bout against Joseph Parker,
Yeah.
right? He had the power and everything like that, but
His mind
everything seemed
wasn't
like
in it.
it was like he wasn't in it, and
Checked
it
out.
seemed like a lot of he was like very predictable in that,
Yeah.
because you almost like seen the right hand like every single time. You could pretty much see like when he was going to throw it.
Yep.
So at that point, I was like, man, I don't know if he's fully into the fights and things like that, and going or having what's happening behind the scenes and all that type of stuff that will really affect your mental. Especially what he was talking about with Najee over at Cigar Talk, like you were mentioning there with the whole thing with the will and stuff about when he's at his highest, they with him, but when he's at his lowest, it's like everybody was left him. Which I'm gonna bring up a point like that here in a moment or later on in the
But
midweek report,
also with that
right?
situation though, he's not innocent in that type of situation. Cause remember the thing that he did with his brother, like,
Yeah,
you know what I'm
yeah,
saying. So
yeah,
it's like we can't be putting too much on that. Cause you doing wrong, they doing you wrong. It's like this time around, you saying that there's no personal stuff going on, and we seeing you he ha ha with Chisora. When it come to fight night, it better be that same old Wilder that's trying to annihilate his opponent.
yeah. We gotta see that as far as like what will happen there on April 4th if he's ready to take him out, because like as he was mentioning there in that conversation with Matt Brown of Brunch Boxing, Brad brought up this stuff where he said, "Hey, you were good friends with Robert Hellenius, and you pretty much like beat him within like a minute within the first round." So is it going to be the same way here, or what's going to be
And that
going
was a
on?
long
Because
time ago.
yeah, that's the thing about it. I was out there at the Barclays Center for that fight too, but like I said, that was like one of his two wins that he's had in his last six fights. So
I feel like
um
that was like in 2005.
yeah,
Like,
nah. It wouldn't be like back when oh shoot, what year was that? 2016 when he fought Archer Spilka at the Barclays Center. Now that's how far back I pretty much go, because I was at that joint too. So I mean, now it's like, okay, is he going to have a point where he could resurrect his career for two or three more fights? Because he said, hey, not only did he want to have that interest of fighting Alexander Usyk, but he also said that he would still have interest in fighting Anthony Joshua. Even with what's going on with Anthony Joshua right now. So I mean, he looks like he may have a plan here for these next I guess 2 or 3 fights or so, but it's one thing to have a plan, it's a whole other thing to have it properly executed. So we got to see what happens here upcoming for April 4th there at the O2. Right now, wanted to also bring up the other clip that of course a number of people have been talking about. This was when both Wilder and Chisora were talking on TalkSport. As it was mentioned, you had the whole thing with the media row. Like they were talking with TalkSport, a number of other media folks out there in the UK. But this was the one that kind of like had folks really going, because this is kind of a clip there from TalkSport there from their conversation. So I'm gonna run that here real quick. Let me go ahead and drop my camera joint, and then I'm gonna play it right here. Here it goes.
Move you on to Tyson Fury. I
And
don't want to talk about him.
No, you're going to.
We're here about
No,
Derek.
but you're going to.
We're not going to talk about him
but
at all.
But as part
we're
of
not going to talk about him at all. Understand that?
No, fair enough.
All right, then. So let's move on. It's all about Derek Chisora, and that's it.
I understand that. I understand that. The only
back, baby.
The only
Y'all
reason,
understand
the
that?
only
You
reason,
better be. April the 4th is going down.
The only reason.
At the O2, you better be there.
Fabulous.
You'll be a square.
The only reason I mentioned it is because it's part of the shtick that goes with you. And I missed you first time around when you came in here 3 years ago, when you were in your pomp 4 years ago, doing Bomb Squad and all that sort of stuff. And I've always wanted to have a conversation with you because you've made observations about Fury. I have my own views on Fury, and you've called him a cheat. And it leads me.
The biggest in boxing.
Yeah, but it leads me to a conclusion.
Biggest in boxing. If somebody practicing taking their stuff out of their gloves in training, what you think they're gonna do in the fight?
Yeah, but
that's all I got to say about that.
I want to put something to you about you, right? And Fury just happens to be the hook for it.
That's all I got to say about him.
You talked about being cheated in that fight. You talked about water being spiked. You talked about your Game of Thrones outfit being too heavy for you.
I didn't say that.
You said it was too heavy for you.
I didn't say that.
Okay, well I might be wrong on that one. You talked about the long.
Y'all took a journalist that said something because y'all, everybody wanted to come in. Oh, wow, boom, boom, boom.
You talked about a long count, right? And then you talked about the trainers, Mark Brulin not being good enough.
No, I didn't say he wasn't good enough.
So what I'm asking you,
he was a disloyal trainer.
It sounds to me, given the character that you are, that's like a little bit flaky. You lost those fights, and those fights were lost. And you saying that someone like Fury cheated you in those fights, I think is kind of disappointing to me.
You can say
about
what you
because
want. I know the truth. I have the facts.
Okay.
Understand that. Because when the documentary and everything that started coming out, I'm going to show everything.
Fantastic.
I'm going to get all the people that know and all the people that's in the inside. He got people that are inside of him. I don't give a about that.
I'm not a Fury fan.
I don't give a about it. I said we didn't want to bring him up in the first place. It ain't got to do with him.
Fair enough.
So that was just part of the whole stick between those two.
Let me go first before you, right?
All right,
so, with the UK, bro, you could tell these people's are really racist, right? They don't like black people, right? Because if you pay attention to Tyson Fury's whole career, he's been cheating his whole entire life. Drug cheating, glove cheating, doing elbows. He got knocked out by Wilder. The ref gave him a 15-20 count. We seen this dude knocked out on his feet versus Usyk. The ref came to save the day. How many times this dude been cheating? He literally got caught in a fight with a glove that they had to change. He was giving out opponents he was tampering with gloves in sparring, just like Wilder says, right? If he's doing that in sparring, what is he doing in real fights? That's the thing. We can't be with the picking and choosing this and that. The UK been living off of Wilder wins. We just seen Usyk been spanking the whole UK. He up 2-0 versus Joshua. He up 2-0 versus Fury. Why y'all not talking about that and trying to get somebody to get back for Usyk, how he been doing them, right? Because if it's really competition, it's been years, fam. The third fight, Wilder got cooked. Anybody that said otherwise, I don't want to hear nothing about it. Because me on this side, we don't do the picking and choosing. Everybody getting cooked. I don't care what color you is, what race, what nationality. It's the truth, right? This dude cheated that man in a fight, and we over here acting like it did not happen, right? Just like Margarito, he got caught cheating. I don't hear a single soul saying that, he ain't cheat this and that. Why is that? Because Margarito, a black person wasn't involved. Because it's like, bro, y'all not tired of celebrating that? Y'all not tired of celebrating it? Let's not forget, Tyson Fury had already lost versus what buddy he lost to in the earliest career? I'm forgetting his name. They robbed him. Then he rematched. Yeah, Price. He rematched him and beat him. So it's like Fury always had fraudulent things going on with him. He's banned from the U.S. because he doing shady business with the Irish mob and all that. This is the same guy after he lost to Usyk. Oh, they didn't give me the fight because the war that's going on in Ukraine and Russia. You thought I forgot about that? Why people ain't bringing that up? He's a sore loser that be on cocaine, all type of drugs, and y'all been celebrating that thing. He's an overrated. Who has he fought? An old ass Klitschko fighting Chisora 3 times and Dillian White. Like who's Tyson Fury, bro? That's what y'all live off of. UK living off of Wilder. We all know Wilder is like literally one of the worst boxers. If we talk about skills, he's one of the worst. Anybody, if you saying otherwise, you clearly got to get off your knees, right? Y'all celebrating that y'all beat Usyk, y'all beat AJ or something. Fury's overrated, bro.
Yeah, I mean, and you had the thing there with Usyk, like he beat Fury twice, he beat Joshua twice, and he knocked out Daniel Dubois last year.
Twice.
So, oh yeah, you stopped him. Earlier than that too.
Well, matter of fact, he quit in both fights. Let's be honest. Quit.
Well, yeah.
We gotta be honest. Yeah. This man got knocked down. He looked
when
he got up, his legs
looked at the corner. He looked at the corner.
Then even give you more precise information, if he was messed up, he would have ran into Usyk. He didn't even run into him.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing, man. But it's like they, bring up stuff that don't really have that much relevancy to the event and everything like that. And the thing there with Simon, right?
Wilder told him he don't want to talk about that.
He didn't want to talk about it. But the thing is, too, right, that the Simon guy kind of like brought it up as like a level of criticism, right? So even with like something like Chisora, like he ain't really like do something to criticize Chisora, but you want to kind of like bring up something to Deontay Wilder, that kind of like show, well, one, favoritism towards Chisora, but it also kind of like showed favoritism towards Fury, even though he's like, "Hey, I'm not a Fury fan. I'm not a Fury fan."
Yeah, that's just so he could
like why would you kind of like question Deontay Wilder, for what happened in the fights against Tyson Fury? Like you don't need to do that. Like I just played the whole video or interview there with Matt Brown, there with Deontay Wilder. And he didn't mention anything about, Tyson Fury. Like he didn't mention anything close to that. You know what I mean? He didn't mention anything in reference to like, the Joseph Parker or Zalay Zeng or anything like that. He was focused on what's going to be happening on April 4th at the O2 in London.
Right? Like this dude done got knocked out by Zing, lost to Parker, looked terrible versus Hendon. They ain't talking about none of that because they ain't watching that. Know what I'm saying? They watching, they go every day, they go on the internet, they search up Tyson Fury versus Wilder. Like, bro, how long has that been, bro? Like, that's how you know he ain't fighting nobody. He ain't really been doing nothing. If the only thing you guys is fixed on is Wilder. Every time Wilder this, Wilder that, bro. Tyson Fury, if you want, that's the thing with me, bro. If you gonna cook from both sides. Chisora ain't nothing anyways. Talk about him. Talk about him being an Otto Wallen. Like, what is that? You know what I'm saying? It's like, bro, if you gonna violate from both sides. That way, a person like me, I bet Wilder getting cooked, Chisora getting cooked. It's even
equal opportunity roaster. That's what it is.
Come on, bro. When you picking and choosing and that stuff is lame. Then Wilder warned him, yo, he don't want to talk about that. Know what I'm saying? He don't want to like that. Let's be honest. That platform, people in the UK really tuned in with it. The other side of the UK, bro, we not tapping into no TalkSport boxing, bro. So that's the biggest traction y'all gonna get. I'm not trying to downplay them, say they don't do they work as a boxing platform, because they do, but I'm saying like people that's not from the UK, that don't live in the UK, don't keep up with that platform, if we being truthfully honest, bro.
Yeah, and that's why like a lot of those other ones that they have there, like an IFL TV or something like that, they kind of like follow those guys, right?
Stomping grounds.
Yeah, that type of stuff. And that's why, like, after the whole thing that happened with TalkSport, you pretty much like had, both Wilder and Chisora like kind of like roasting, that Simon guy about it. You know what I mean? And it was like not really necessary. And he tried hard to clean it up, but by the time you had like opened the door, that was too late. So why even try to go through that route? As as I say, as a journalist, there's like no reason to
Journalists.
bring it up. You know what I mean?
Journalists don't exist anymore. That's back in the days, man. These guys, they ain't doing no journalism.
Yeah.
They can't even tell you the last fight Wilder had.
Well, the thing about it is that a number of them kind of, tread water because they don't, want to step on the toes of people or whatever it is. And at the end of the day, you just got to report what's out there. You know what I mean? But sometimes you kind of like show favoritism on some things, and it's going to end up hurting you in the long run. Shout out to Blunt Sports in the building, chiming in and everything like that.
Just like with the thing with Usyk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody that's being truthfully honest is say, yo, that shot Du Bois landed on Usyk was a legal shot. I've seen Usyk on that platform. I didn't see y'all going above and beyond. So I say, nah, Usyk, you cheated that man, you this and that. Like, you know what I'm saying? You could see the favoritism, bro.
Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, you didn't really like when that Luis Pabon, the referee, didn't, messed up on that call.
Yep.
You didn't see folks like roasting Luis Pabon or something like that, but at the same time, I mean, you can add a thing there for the referee for that first Fury fight. Like a lot of people still, get on them, for that count or whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? But still it's like you can't like excuse like other referees for missing calls if you feel like, this one referee is doing it. But back to the whole thing with this fight in itself, I think it's going to be an exciting event over there because I've been to fight. Well, at least I've been to a fight at Wembley Stadium, and you kind of like see the difference in the atmosphere in fights that are over there in comparison to here. But that's kind of night and day, so to speak, because we have a lot of spectator sports over here that we're more invested in, and they don't really have as many spectator sports as we do like that. They don't have like the baseballs. They don't have the the American footballs. We got NFL going over there. You see how it's well attended when they do that. Even college football over there is well attended. You feel me?
You gotta think about it, bro. Every continent got the way they celebrate and they hype up fights. Mm-hmm. In the UK, they playing with the big noise stuff. They doing a lot of over here on this side. People be more on some chill vibe. It depends on which events you go to. Know what I'm saying? If you go to a tennis event, it's gonna be different from a football event because and then over here it's a bunch of stuff going on. Like over there. It's first of all, UK is not that big. Let's talk about that. So less people over here, way more people. Look at then you got states and cities that's overpopulated and all that. So people be into different things over there. You guys could come together. Lesser people there is you gonna be able to get lesser people to agree on some or push some. Then over there is everybody all over the place. There's some people just because they watch football, they don't want to be watching no boxing because it's looking like, yo, I'm down playing football. I ain't trying to watch. That's how it is. People are different. Like everybody be into some. Then you got people that be into music. They look at sports like, yo, these dudes weird, man. Then sports looking like anime people. Like it's just all over the place, bro. It's too many people, bro.
Yeah, just within like I could just bring in New York and Los Angeles by themselves, and then the population for those two could be, at or around where it is for the UK total or something like that. I mean, I don't know the actual numbers for the thing there for the UK, but if I just take the largest cities here in the US, then that would kind of like take around what the UK has, they saying what 69? Oh, it's like 69.5. So
the US pushing on 400 million people, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like around that, right?
It's crazy. You think you about to get all these people to be supporting boxing? Let's not forget, over there, they're more invested in stuff that they've been rocking with, so they're not gonna switch up. Here, bro, once whatever it is no longer hyped up, they hopping on another bandwagon. That's truthfully speaking, bro. Over there, they've been rocking with boxing, they gonna rock out. They've been rocking with football, they gonna rock out. Here, if boxing ain't getting the same views they used to get, bro, they on to something else. You know what I'm saying? They not sticking around and coming together. Nah, bro.
Yeah. Now, I was saying the thing there with the UK population. Actually, if you take the population in the state of California and the population in the state of Texas,
Yeah, I was
that's
just gonna
more
say that.
than what you got in the UK. So
You
that kind of like
brought up
shows you
two of the
what it
biggest
is.
states.
Yeah, two of the biggest states right there. So, but you got like a number of things there where we have like a lot of spectator sports that we have options with in comparison to like UK like that. So, when you see all of those guys in UK and you had the thing back in the day with the with Ricky Hattons or something like that with like say, man, I don't know. Well, they try to get behind Tyson Fury now. I don't know how much because they had the whole thing with Gypsy and all that type of stuff there. Like Billy Joe Saunders, like he wasn't really that much kind of like supported in a sense, with that. But you still have it to where you can have areas or patches within the country there in the UK where they largely support like one particular fighter and back them or something like that. Like you had the atmosphere there where Josh Kelly fought back Murtazalia last weekend, and Josh Kelly was able to have the support there on that. So here you don't necessarily have that with like one, like any one fighter like that because you just don't have the general interest like you did back in the day.
Yeah.
There, like in the 80s and stuff like that. But that kind of like it was like a sports shift in a sense within
Like
the
boxing,
90s.
I don't know the facts over there in the UK. I'm pretty sure boxing is like top 5, top 10 for sure.
Yeah,
In the US, it's not even a top 10 sport. It's not nationalized. It's not popular. You don't see. You go to ESPN right now. Find me the latest boxing talk. It's probably going to be Canelo Crawford. That's because that's a gigantic fight, right?
Mm-hmm.
So before that, you're not going to see nothing probably like Spence Crawford, bro.
Yeah.
So it's like it's not on TV. People don't care about boxing over here, bro. It's not a top 10 sport. It's not popular.
And it's wild because you talk about ESPN that had Top Rank for an extended period of time, but you gonna tell me that you can't even have a segment on your major shows about these fights that you had coming up? Like that's that's nasty work right there. So I think it has still a lot of work to do. I know we got a few new things that's going down here in the sport of boxing in the U.S., of course, with the Zuffa thing that started up and all that type of stuff. But still thinking, we'll have a ways to go in order to, get anywhere close to like where it was on the mainstream market. Pretty much, it would have to, go back to the whole broadcast thing. But I think, the depth of boxing in America has to change up as well with that.
I mean, the only way they can fix that would have to be because the way they did it, they monopolized the sport. They went and got WWE, ESPN, Turkey. If they really wanted to fix boxing, they would have got everybody that a major figure in boxing involved in that company, and then make everybody a part of it. And they just, I don't know, do it on some NBA stuff. They just owners a team or something like that, and then boom, bro. They don't want to fix boxing because it's a crooked sport, a sport full of corruption. They don't want to do open scoring. They don't want to do blood and urine Olympic style testing. Look how if somebody tests positive, a manager or a promoter could pick and choose if they want the information out or not. Like, you know how crazy that is?
Well, the thing is, right? What is like the major testing system that's used there for boxing? Right? Okay. That's an acronym. And the first letter
voluntary.
Yeah. Voluntary. So see? At the end of the day, it's still voluntary.
You just killed it.
Yeah, like come on. You know what I mean? So that's the thing too. And with that, they're the ones that have to put in towards VADA in order for them to do the testing. Like they're the ones paying for it. So if you ain't Yeah, if you ain't really doing that stuff, then it's like, what's the point? That's why, like, some people, like, as a rumor, right? Some people are kind of questioning what's going on with one fighter that has a big event here coming up in a few weeks, because they look like they look like they back on whatever they got.
Oh yeah, Osteron quit seeing. He's on that stuff, man. Look how he moving, bro. Whenever he's not on that stuff, you see him calm. He not really hot. Whenever he's on that stuff, he's hyped up, playing with his nose. Then if you peep, look at the center between his two eyes, you gonna see him do a little twitch. If you watch him before that, he wasn't doing that little twitch stuff. It's the drugs that he's taking, bro. Bro, we know what people on drugs act like in boxing now, bro. They be tripping. They can't sit still. They overly hyper. Come on, bro. And this dude look brolic as heck. When has he ever looked like that? If he ever looked like that, he would have looked like that at 135 with less fat, and then you would have seen the physique. Like, what? Come on, bro.
Yeah. So
then they paused the testing. Remember that? They reported that testing has been paused. Like, what type of testing been paused when they're in camp to go fight? Pausing the testing? What?
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, at the end of the day, it's still like voluntary. So I'm like, I don't understand like some of the systems that they try to use.
But it's supposed to be clean boxing, right? Come on, bro.
Yeah. What else we had? We had the joint here for the press conference with Keith Thurman and Sebastian Fundora. Keith Thurman, of course, he the man that sells the show and everything like that.
I wish he wasn't that old, man, because if you watching this guy selling the fights, that's what we miss in boxing, bro.
This guy could have been like that. Always been like that.
This guy could have been the worst boxer of all time, and he still gets you to come watch the fight. Cause the way he talking, he been watching some Ali. He been watching these other fighters that knows how to sell fights, bro.
Yeah.
Cause that's in him. He's great at that, bro.
Yep. He's definitely been able to do that. He was ready to go on October 25th last year, and then you had the whole thing happen with Sebastian Fundora, which kind of like not only threw things off with that fight itself, but it really threw the schedule off for a lot of things that were happening within the landscape of boxing. You had the whole thing with, like, for example, the Fulton versus Foster fight. That was supposed to be on October 25th. You had the the thing there for Shane Mosley Jr. versus Jesus Ramos Jr. was supposed to be on October 25th. Now, thankfully for them, they were able to get on for that December 6th card in San Antonio, Texas. But here with this is for the WBC Super Welterweight Championship. And the thing was, they were trying to have things scheduled out to where you could have this fight happen, and then you had a WBC interim champion that had a fight. So if you had the winners of those two fights happening in October, we could have potentially had something, in the works for that fight happening, around probably this time, or maybe within a couple of months afterwards. There, as you know, we have the WBC interim champion in Virgil Ortiz now, but Virgil Ortiz has a little bit of legal things to deal with. So for the time being, now we got Sebastian Fundora back in the mix here against Keith Thurman, and Fundora has done this thing ever since that loss to Mendoza, but we got to see if he can kind of like say this case as far as like being one of the top guys there at 154. We've seen what Xander Zayas did there last weekend, against Abbas Barao. We've seen Josh Kelly get the win there over Bakhmurda Zaliev to become the new IBF champion. So now, Fundora's going to state his case to say, hey, I should be the number one guy, out here, because I've been, technically like the longest reigning champion out there, at 154 here so far. But Keith Thurman's been like, hey, I got back in the picture. I got back in the mix. I was supposed to be fighting Tim Tszyu after, having a thing there against Brock Jarvis in Australia. You took that fight from me. So now I got to get you on this. So, he was looking to fight Tim Tszyu, but now he gets that opportunity to become a world champion here at 154. Of course, being a unified champ at 147. there with WBA and WBC. So a lot of people, like you said, hey, they like Keith Thurman. They like him selling the fights and everything like that. But they got to see if he's gonna have what it takes in order to defeat the towering Inferno here for March 28th. I was hoping it would have been March 21st, but I guess they kind of like pushed back the reservation for March 21st to March 28th. And I will be also curious as to who else will be included in this fight card, because a couple of fights that are on February 21st, I would hope that they would be on for like the thing here for this particular card. When you got Gary Antoine in there against Andy Hirioka, and you got Frank Martin in there against Nahir Albright. That February 21st card, though, that's gonna be some, that's gonna be some fire. But they might have some things in the works there to have some other fights that could be intriguing there for the March 28th card, particularly since it's going to be in the MGM Grand Garden Arena. But it is also going to be a PBC on Prime, PBC on pay-per-view there on this thing, man. But what do you think, Neverfold, about Sebastian Fundora in the 154-pound division?
Fundora is a good fighter. His biggest advantage is he's tall and he got long reach. Yeah, he's good. For me, he's not the best at that weight division. He also ducked the best fighter there, which was Crawford. Because that's who Crawford wanted to fight, and he didn't want that fight, and Crawford went towards Madrimov, right? Go ahead.
Well, that's not necessarily true.
What happened?
Okay, so after the first fight between Fundora and Zoo, they had the thing with Fundora with him having the condition being injured, right? The WBO had made that decision in reference to that, but soon after, that's why you had the Madrimov fight that was basically announced for Terrence Crawford. That was announced within April. That wasn't even like 2 weeks after the first fight between Fundora and Tim Tszyu, right? So then you have that fight take place, and then fast forward, Fundora's back, right? Crawford beat Madrimov. So he's the WBA champion, but he's still also the WBO interim champion. So the WBO still had ordered the fight between Crawford and Fundora, right? They extended it, then they extended it again, and then eventually it got nixed. And the reason why it got nixed was because Terrence Crawford was going to be fighting Canelo. So the thing is like you could enforce it, but if you enforce it and then don't go through with it, usually what happens is the champion that didn't fight the mandatory gets his belt stripped. And the thing is, Fundora didn't get stripped. So that's why he ended up fighting Cordell Booker and having the unified championship at the time against Cordell Booker. Because otherwise, he would have been stripped of that WBO belt if Terrence Crawford had enforced it. But he didn't really enforce it like that. So that's
Remember, he had 2 fights on the table. Crawford, Spence. He chose to go with Spence. Spence wasn't even back in boxing. So by him, why would he pick Spence over Crawford? Because when Spence is coming off a loss, that's a better fight for him to win. Or maybe that plus Spence got the Texas on his side, and more money, whatever the case may be. But if you really want to test yourself, you would have chose Crawford, right? All the things that you said were true, but those 2 names were on the table, and he chose to go with Spence, and Spence ended up wasting his time. He wasn't back, and he had to fight Booker.
Well, I mean, the thing is, you still had that time period, though. Because my thing was, for Crawford, he could have enforced that mandatory and said, hey, you could say what you want about that whole thing with Spence, but I want that opportunity to become, like, at the very least, a unified champion at 154. So I would have pushed for it. And the thing is like, remember, that fight with Crawford and Spence, that rematch was still still within the possibility too. So you had those two fighters there seeing if they could get it in the ring against Errol Spence, right? But with that out of the picture, then it's like, okay, should they have the fight with each other? And if they're not going to negotiate and make an agreement with each other, then we'll say, hey, to the WBO, we'll say, hey, well, we can't necessarily come to an agreement. So you could go ahead and nix the whole thing with the purse bid because we're not gonna, bid for it. We're not gonna enforce anything with the mandatory. So it basically got washed out, So my thing was, it's like, yeah, you could have had the thing enforced with Sebastian Fundora to where either he fights you or just force him to get stripped. And Crawford, he was like, nah, I'm all right. Especially if I could potentially get an even bigger fight down the horizon. So he didn't really kind of like stress over it or anything like that. So that's how that goes. I want to see like what happens here for March 28th with Thurman and Fundora.
Who you got?
Man, I don't know, because you coming off of a hand injury. Does that mean you might not be as active with the hands as you usually are? And the thing is, like,
you talking about Thurman?
No, Fundora.
Yeah,
Fundora had the hand
because Thurman had the shoulder injury.
He had the shoulder injury, but that was like some time back. So after him beating up on Brock Jarvis, he was like, "Yeah, I'm all the way back." So I think his craftiness is going to be a real factor here in this bout against Sebastian Fundora, and like you could see something where maybe Thurman could pull it off.
Upset.
Yeah, I could see Thurman pulling it off. They're on that front. So I have to see how that goes. There with that. Now, one of the other things I wanted to talk about here was one joint, of course, fallout from the fights that you went to over at Madison Square Garden, man. And well, okay. First, I wanted to share the thing there as far as like what Teofimo Lopez Sr. said after the fight, right?
Go get him, bro.
Come on, bro.
What happened to your power?
What happened to your power, bro? Like, come on, man. Like, that's not that is not how you kind of like train, be there as a trainer. But now he's saying like, oh, like that wasn't my son in there. He said like, quote, everything was fine leading into the fight. Said the sparring sessions, what motivated me to this fight was 100% sure that we was going to win. For some reason, the game plan, my son didn't do what I told him he was supposed to do. His rhythm was supposed to be different, where we were supposed to stop Shakur from doing whatever Shakur does best. Congratulations to him for winning, but that was not my son in there. I think probably the networks and everybody, the media, everything leading up to this fight, talking already about Shakur fighting in May, where the winner was supposed to go fight in May against whoever it was. I wonder who that would be. So that probably got to him. You know what I'm saying? People talk about me being drunk, all that stuff. When he went to the press conference and I wasn't there, I didn't show up because I was resting, and think all that affected him in this fight. Hold on, let me go back to that part. Okay. So I think that probably got to him. You know what I'm saying? People talking about me being drunk, all that stuff, when he went to the press conference and I wasn't there. I didn't show up because I was resting, and I think all that affected him in this fight. Well, he says that, but
what that got to do with him being a coach that he's supposed to be instructing his fighter?
And the other thing too was the chief second that they had with them. That particular trainer has been criticized as well, within boxing circles too. But yeah, the thing with Till Senior, man, yeah, he really didn't do much here, and I think it was similar to what happened in the George Kambosos fight. You gotta get to him, bro. He was doing the same thing in the Kambosos fight. After the early knockdown that happened to Teofimo Lopez. Now, for Teo, it was basically just Teo being he had that type of athleticism or whatever it is at 135 at the time, where he was able to at least get some way back in that particular fight, but ended up losing anyway, right? Here, he was just completely overmatched. And like you were saying, in the podcast on Sunday, he basically got 12-0. And
basically, he ain't win one round.
Yeah, like you got
people saying that he won
bro.
a round. That's people that want to gift him around.
Yeah, bro. So if you see that he's getting outpointed, and this was happening early in the fight, like you're seeing Shakur Stevenson basically beating them with the jab. And
one hand.
One hand, right? And you're not even doing anything or telling him to either
step back, step right,
back, move
smother
your head,
put him on the ropes,
try to
put
catch
your hands up,
catch the jab. You know what I mean? Catch the jab with your left, and then just come in back with a counter.
Foot feints.
None of that.
Nothing. Dude is trash.
Not even like him. Nor his chief second were saying anything like that.
It just tells you that they only had one game plan. They wanted to get Shakur to engage and hope and pray they land that shot and end up hurting him or knocking him out or stopping him. Yeah. That was their only game plan. Because if you see the article, he's talking about what he's seen in sparring. What you see in sparring in the game plan, you're not fighting Shakur Stevenson in that sparring. You're not even fighting a Keyshawn or somebody similar to his skills or somebody to his level like a Devin Haney and a sharp fighter, bro. So I'm not understanding what Buddy talking about.
And the thing about it is like you know that you're in a high profile fight against a highly skilled fighter. Like, what are you doing? What are you like? Are you even watching any like tape on Shakur Stevenson and
clearly did
what
not.
he's doing?
Clearly did not.
So you can't even get to a point where you would say, like, in any sense, form, or fashion that you had your son ready for this particular fight.
You know, one thing I noticed about this guy, he's a sore loser. He's a bozo, right? Because somebody that don't want to accept that they did a horrible job will never be good. Because every time this guy loses, it's always an excuse. This time around, Teofimo did not say any excuses. You know why? Because he got paid good money. If he did not get paid that good, he would be moving just like his dad. Because we've seen him do that before, but always excuses. They never be like, damn, we were slow. Maybe we was rusty. You never hear him use like excuses that make sense. It's always some outlandish. Oh, they seen a zombie last night. Oh, he wasn't at the press conference. You wasn't there because you wanted to paint the picture like you wasn't gonna pull up to the fight, so that way you start messing up with Shakur and his team focus, bro.
Like, yeah, that thing with the press conference and the message that Wally Moses had, and the whole thing with the gift of what Shakur Stevenson had, what y'all saw is basically what they saw. I'm gonna just put it like that. All right.
Yeah, they said he was out there drinking. He was drunk. No, me, I'm gonna say it. I don't care what they talking about. Come do something.
I feel you. You know what I mean? So if you know that all that type of stuff is going on, and this is supposed to be the biggest fight of your career, this is supposed to be, as I've said in the past, a potential fight where they are trying to quote unquote get you out of the paint. You talk about Teofimo Sr. saying, I think a lot of this has to do with everybody not wanting him to win. It was not one person talking good about him. Nah, what y'all have been doing over the past few years has gotten it to the point where people within the sport don't like you.
Like, first of all, both of them are.
It's not like a like how you pose as a villain out there, like how some may say like Ryan Garcia may be, or like Rolly Romero might be, or something like that. No, this is something where, hey, we've been tolerating you for this amount of time. You've been acting this way for this amount of years. So we're like, oh, okay. Either we're gonna try to do this with you. We're gonna try to get you in a situation where you're gonna have to take the fight, but we're gonna put you on the shelf, right? So when you've had these reports in the past talking about Teofimo Lopez turning down a fight with Subriel Matias, Teofimo Lopez turning down a fight with Brian Norman Jr., turning down a fight with Jerome Boots Ennis, turning down a fight with Devin Haney. That's what they're talking about. Because they're like saying, hey, we have the opportunity to, make good money or have good business involving you and getting you to the point where you want to get to this next level or be as popular as you think you may be, but yet you don't want to take those risks. So they're like, you know what? We want to wash our hands with this whole thing. So we're going to try to find out a fighter that's going to be like, oh, you're going to be supremely high of an underdog against this fighter. Now, if you get through this fight, that's great. But if you don't, sayonara.
Dog, you gotta think about this, right? These guys are so much sore losers. Did you see the clip that they showed of both fighters in the locker room? Him and his dad was acting a fool. Meanwhile, Shakur chill, preserving his energy. What
Teofimo
happened to
Teofimo Lopez out there dancing like he's Mary J. Blige.
Yep. Then when he went out there, it took like 10 minutes having a whole concert in a locker room. His dad throwing the middle finger. Where was that energy at in the ring? We ain't seen none of that in the ring. None. So you using excuses talking about people not rooting for you played a part of y'all losing, bro. Y'all some sore losers. Every time y'all get taxed, you guys come out with excuses, especially the dad. He's a bozo, bro. People tired of you. They don't want to listen to you. Know what I'm saying? People don't want to hear you talking. Even in the corner, they telling you this and that, bro. Like, nobody care for you, buddy.
Yeah, like it's almost like you're not a non-factor.
And he's annoying. He's annoying. You seen Crawford try to put hands on him at a press conference.
Well, we know that Keyshawn put hands on him, but
Keyshawn knocked him out. Keyshawn knocked him out. His son ain't never did nothing about it. How you let your dad get knocked out? He's scared of Keyshawn Davis. He was supposed to fight Keyshawn instead of Shakur, bro. He's scared. Come on, bro.
Yeah. Like, you're going to be talking about all that stuff. I forgot which card they were on. They were like,
you talking about the card where he had the book?
Yeah.
Yep. I forgot which card too.
Yeah. So
was Keyshawn headlining that card?
No, I don't think Keyshawn was headlining that card, because it was something where, I think Tio was headlining the card, but Keyshawn was kind of like
you tell me that was against Steve Claggett. Was it?
Nah, it couldn't have been the Steve Claggett joint. Maybe it was the
Ortiz?
Ortiz joint. Let me see. Was that in Vegas? Yep, that was the Jermaine Ortiz one. Yep, because Keyshawn was fighting Jose Pedraza on that.
Oh yeah, it was.
Yeah. So they've been having all that stuff that was going back and forth ever since that confrontation. So Keyshawn been wanted to have that fight with Teofimo Lopez, but given what Tio was doing and that he was at 140 at the time, telling y'all, like, they wanted to do something to get him out the paint, so they were trying to match him up with guys that were either at 140 or see if he could go up to 147 with them having that status of being a WBO super champion, right? So you have that whole thing going on.
Let's not forget he was clout chasing Crawford. He was a WBO champ. He could have mandated the fight. Never did it.
He could have moved up then. But like I said, even when Brian Norman Jr. was the WBO champ, still didn't do it. So I'm like, right now, that's why all the stuff that folks are talking, it's kind of either one side, like say for example, with Andre Ward, he talking about where was Teal Senior when Teofimo was out there, getting checked in the medicals, and Teofimo Senior was nowhere to be found. Like that should have been like the biggest time that you should have been with your son, and you weren't there. Like but at the same token, like you have it where these guys are talking a lot when their son wins, but when their son loses, like what's up? So
he's a sore loser, like I've been saying, bro. He's a
so
bozo.
so that's why, like, I came up with a thing there, reference to the title and the whole thing with the cover picture, and I said, would this be the time where Teofimo Lopez fires his dad as a trainer? Of course, we had the whole story about Brian Norman Jr. and Brian Norman Sr., you know what I mean? But Teofimo, at this point in his career, even if he, went ahead and let go of Teofimo Sr., like, what, where would he go? What would he do? I think, he's kind of like been at the point where his skill level is what it is, and that I don't know if there will be anybody out there that could really improve
No,
on.
not to interrupt you, right? You just
Go ahead.
said skills level. I remember when people was asking me about Teofimo. I'm telling them, yo, stop hyping this guy up, bro. Why people think I was able to guess and predict that he was gonna get 12 zip? Because I've been noticed his skill set is not there. It's just the people that he's fighting. You listen to me talking about this guy, I'm gonna bring up facts. He lost to Ortiz, lost to Sandor Martin, struggled with Steve Claggett, and he fought Barbosa. Like, bro, Barbosa's tailor made for him. Barbosa shouldn't even got in that position because he lost to that Irish dude. Bro, it was there in your face. You guys just keep living off the Lomachenko. Lomachenko, that's a one-hit wonder. Josh Taylor should have been moved up to 47, and he been cooked since Regis. He haven't done nothing since Regis. And what happened after Regis? He got knocked out by a guy I ain't never heard of. Like, come on, bro. Like, that's who y'all hyping up. And guess what? Now y'all saying that he's a bum. What happened to him being the best fighter of this generation? Don't switch up. Because me, it ain't no switching up. Because if I said something then, I'm going to say it now. I'm going to keep saying it. Even if I'm wrong. You don't see how people going on like this dude. They say, I thought y'all said he was 2-time undisputed. Now he not undisputed? How you go back from not being undisputed to being not undisputed? Like, can you guys stay somewhere?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I never said that he was undisputed because of the whole little.
Nah, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the group.
But like, the folks that was supporting Teofimo Lopez, you know what I'm saying? But I'm like, come on, y'all. He ain't really, like I said, he ain't really have the thing there for the smoke against the other guys at 140. Like I was talking about, in the last little show. I said, listen, you were there as the longest reigning champion, but you wouldn't be in the mix against any of these other champions. You did
not unify
any of them. None of them.
He was forced to fight Barbosa, but he been calling him out since how long?
Yeah.
What he said, yo, don't put me against that bum over there.
Yeah. He had to be a mandatory challenger and it be a mandatory defense in order for that fight to happen.
And that fight had to go down on Turkey's card, which meaning that's the most money he was going to get paid for the fight. So money was the reason why he fought.
And that's the only joint that had him even have that fight because, they likely were on.
And nobody was talking about Teofimo.
On the verge of being, out the paint.
They was trying to throw him up and not catch him, bro.
Right. And then who else was going to be interested in watching that fight? Like, if you were going to have that in any venue or something like that, like, where would you put it? You probably have it in the same venue that they had the Steve Claggett fight at or something. You know what I mean? Or they would have had it to where it would have been a purse bid and then maybe Golden Boy would have won it or something out like that. But outside of that, you don't really have that demand to see Teofimo Lopez fight like that. So
people was not looking for this guy. Everybody was already off the ship. Soon he did what he did to Barbosa. That's when you got the Shakur popping out the cut, the fans saying this and that. This like, come on, bro.
yeah. So now like I said, I'm gonna be really curious to see what happens there with the joint with Teofimo Lopez and his father, because like I said, what was going on during fight week? Come on, man. If you trying to be that guy or be around that elite level, you can't be having folks in your team doing what folks are kind of like saying that they were doing. That ain't gonna cut it. You know what I mean? Now you were talking about the joint there with Shakur Stevenson, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he goes up there, he wins the WBO and Ring Magazine titles at 140 pounds.
Talking about the news that just happened just now?
Yeah, pretty much. Yep. I kind of like find that to be interesting. I did see the comments from Ash Shakur and Nafis Shahid Stevenson. And I find it interesting because isn't this the same Shakur Stevenson that was saying before the fight against Teofimo Lopez that if he won the bout against Teofimo Lopez that he would be likely going back down to 135? But now he's saying that, oh, we doing this thing here with the WBC, but then at the same time, you're the WBO champion. So I guess the WBO fees ain't a problem for you, but WBC's is. I don't get it. And here's the thing too. It's not like you have to worry about those fees until you actually have the bout or after the fact. So with you winning that WBC lightweight title, you already paid them the fees for that. You don't pay them again until you are basically locked in another fight where you do defend that title. So I didn't understand it one bit. But hopefully tomorrow I could get a little bit more information on that. Because I have scheduled a conversation with the WBC president, Mauricio Suleiman. And he'll probably have some comments here and there about it, but I'm going to just see if I can bring it up to him and see what he says.
So my thoughts on that whole situation is, first thing first, I like it because Shakur Stevenson wanted to go back down to 35 at a division that's damn near dead. You could count on one hand how many competition that's there for him. These people's not going to do nothing for his career. If you remove Tank Davis, a young Abdullah Mason, if you beat him, people not going to give you credit for that. He's a young pup. He 21-20. He just won a belt his last fight, right? Kid Austin already ducked. You're not going to waste your time by trying that, and he's not even proven, bro, right? Then you got a Muay Thai that's not even known. That we talking about before Andy Cruz, and people not really trying to say he all that. That's because people looking at it like, yo, you was bigger than him. Andy Cruz should be at 30, so really they not even giving that too much, right?
Mm-hmm.
After that, bro, like who we talking about that's in that division, right? So I'm kind of glad it happened. That way he can stay at 40 division. Keyshawn Davis, a fake brother that he don't want to fight. Richardson Hitchens, a fake brother that he don't want to fight. Gary Antoine Russell, a fighter that I say that he's scared of. We got a whole bunch of people at 40. They need to be unifying. You got a Puyo, Edwin De Los Santos should be at 40. And a whole bunch of other fighters. 40 is like the second best division there, right? So I'm happy that happened. That way, there's no reason for him to go back down to 35. Now, you can fight better fighters, more known fighters at that weight division. Now, I don't agree with how they did it because we seen Lomachenko told him to make a franchise belt to Doug Devaney. They went on with that. Canelo Alvarez been ducking Benavidez for 4 years and counting. They never stripped him, and now they trying to line him up to fight against him, Billy, right? So for me, they've been playing favoritism, if you go back and pay attention, they were the one that first came with the email stuff. They did it with Kenny Norton when Ali fought Leon. They took the belt and they gifted it to Ken Norton, right? So WBC, like, they been moving like this, right? So with them, then they got in a policy. The champ has 15 days to make a decision or something like that, so they don't strip them immediately. It ain't even been more than 4 days. They already took the belt, stripped them, because they want a piece of that pie. They asking for 100,000 of a bout they not even involved in. They fighting for WBO in the ring. Why you need a pie of something that you got no involvement
It's
in?
no
If
involvement.
Shakur
It
Stevenson wants
doesn't
some
have
of
them
y'all
on the
money,
line.
he could turn around and ask for $1 million just because he mentioned WBC. Because what y'all doing is scamming. It's scamming. He's not fighting at 35. He got the belt at 35, and he's not even undisputed. Now, if he was undisputed, he got to pay for that because you guys were a part of that. But y'all not a part of that. Then you want a part of his money?
Yeah. You know, the only thing that they would be entitled to is the percentage of the fight that he would have had for the WBC lightweight title or any of those things. So the last one that he was involved in was the William Zepeda fight. So if they would have, had the payment or the purse for Shakur Stevenson against William Zepeda, then they would have the percentage from that particular fight. But the WBC title at 140 pounds was not on the line here. It was on the line over at the Barclays Center, last month, when Dalton Smith knocked out, Subriel Matias, right? But, even with that, the whole thing behind that with Subriel Matias was kind of, sketchy and all that type of stuff too. So I'm like, man, you can't really, say much of nothing when you're not even involved in that title fight that happened between Shakur Stevenson and, Teofimo Lopez. So why would you even, mention anything to Shakur Stevenson there when he doesn't have the WBC belt on the line? And if you're trying to force his hand as far as like either, defending a WBC lightweight title or the WBO super lightweight title, you shouldn't even really be pressing them for that, especially this early. So I don't understand it. Like I said, I have the conversation scheduled with Mauricio tomorrow, so maybe I could get more information on that. But I just feel like it's a really crazy situation. Man, hold up, man. Actually, I should go ahead.
Before you going about what you said, right?
Yeah.
One thing I noticed is they aligning Crawford with Shakur. Since they're buddies, they kind of doing the same thing. So what they doing, they penalizing Shakur for the beef that they had going on with Bud, because look how they did it. They ain't give him no time, right? And then another thing I noticed too, Shakur is moving like Bud. Everything Bud do, he do, right? Because Bud went and violated the WBC. Now you see Shakur talking crazy about them, right? Calling them crooks and saying this and that. Let's not forget, Bud Crawford waited till he went undisputed, till he was at the top of the top, and then said something. Because like when Spence and them and other people was talking about the WBC, Crawford did not use his voice, right? So Shakur seeing Bud talking crazy, now he want to talk crazy. I don't like people that move like that, because you wait until somebody make a move to make a move. Just like how he moved to 40. He seen Bud Crawford move up three-weight divisions. That's when he had the heart to want to move up. No, as a competitor, you don't wait to see people do stuff to want to do. You got to want to do that on your own. So him talking crazy to the WBC, he's only talking that crazy because he seen Bud do it. I don't think Shakur would have been talking crazy if he ain't seen Bud or somebody that he's like a Keyshawn or people that he called brother or big bro. I don't think he would have been talking crazy like that. Behind closed doors, yeah. But in public, on Twitter, online, no. So that I don't agree with. But the WBC, they some scammers, and more fighters need to be talking about this. We don't be hearing from the fighters. That's why they're able to do that, because if more people come out and talk against the WBC, like people that matters, the fighters that taking a punch. I forgot when there was something going on. Remember, like it was something going on, and I forgot what it was, but the WBC went and hollered at the fighters and had them come out saying the same things. Oh,
yeah. No, that was the thing with them in Turkey. Remember the whole joint that kind of went back and forth between Turkey LLC and the WBC, because I think at the time you had it where the undisputed title
with Canelo and
no,
William Skull.
no, not the Canelo Williams Skull. It was the 175 joint with Beterbiev and Bivol, right? And then soon afterwards was the joint where David Benavidez was going to, enforce his WBC, mandatory. But Turkey at the time was, kind of like pushing for the rematch or that third fight between Beterbiev and Bivol,
it was
and
around
saying
that
that, you don't really need the whole joint with the WBC. And so the WBC had retaliated at that point and said, hey, we want to get all of these guys to kind of like speak up for the WBC and all that type of stuff. So that was kind of like where it started. And it kind of like carried over into the joint in September with Canelo versus Crawford, because remember,
Turkey said no.
Fight week that he wasn't going to be, allowed in the building, and then they had to go ahead and buy tickets or something like that. It was crazy. And the wild part is, like I said, I had these conversations with Mauricio Soleiman, and what it was it Friday that they had the dinner or like a little get together over there at what was that, MGM Grand or something like that, with the WBC and all the reps for them, and you had like the reporters out there. So like I was there. You can have like some of the folks that that's been covering the sport. They were in there and all that type of stuff. So that was a whole crazy situation with that. And but going back to what you were saying there in reference to Terrence Crawford, and you mentioned the thing there with Errol Spence, right? That was off that press conference they had in New York City, promoting that fight. And at the end of that press conference, that's when Errol Spence was saying, "Hey, what's up with all these sanctioning bodies and the thing here with
the money going
up, that type of stuff? You know what I mean? Like, what's going on? Like, where's it going? I mean, I got to pay 3% to this organization, 3% to that organization. Like, where is it going? Like, who? What programs are they doing? Like, and then here we are. Fast forward to September. After Terrence Crawford wins the undisputed title, right? And then he says that, hey, these guys are charging these fees, but then you want, this and then the extra one there. But he was like, nah, we ain't doing that. But there's been times when that's happened before with the World Boxing Council. Shelton Moore in the building. Shout out Shelton Moore, man. He said, as how did Shakur violate? Stevenson fought for the WBO junior welterweight title and Ring Magazine titles. Why would he pay the WBC when he already paid him for the pay-to fight? Yeah.
Now, if he's talking about me, I already explained it. But with me, it's this, right? I don't agree with people that sit around, don't do no fighting, but when the fighters that was fighting against the battle win, you coming out the cut, doing this and that. Bro, fight when a fight is going on. Don't wait till people succeed and then come around acting like you was a fighter, bro. In boxing, these fighters don't fight for nothing. They sit around and let other people go through the war, and then when the peoples that's been fighting succeed, that's when they coming out, acting tough and this and that. No, bro, act tough when you supposed to. Know what I'm saying? So that's my thing with it. I'm not saying that what he did, that's what you're supposed to do, because they don't have a right to be charging $100K for a fight they wasn't a part of. And it's not even at the division where he's holding a title at. Like, one thing about me, I don't do picking and choosing, bro. Yeah, I'm cooking everybody.
Yeah, like you don't see like Daryl Peoples, hitting up Shakur Stevenson, or, like I said with Gilberto Mendoza or something like that. They ain't doing that. The only guys that do that can do that right now is the World Boxing Organization. You know what I mean? So Gustavo Olivieri, who I've talked with on multiple occasions, Like they're the guys that kind of like have this thing there where they say, hey, we get this percentage here, for the purse on this particular fight. So that 3% or whatever it is, 3%, maybe 4% or whatever, they get their portion of it there. But given that it was around $9 or $10 million for a purse, that's some good money. You know what I mean?
Bro, I ain't gonna lie. That type of disrespect, they should be able to sue the WBC for that, because that's literally trying to scam somebody out some money. You wasn't a part of nothing and you want money. Like, bro, that's crazy, bro. Only in boxing, bro.
It's insane work, but like it was. I wanted to bring up the
The tweets.
Well, the tweets, yeah, like you see there where it says like 100K to some crooks who don't deserve it. He said
I ain't calling them. Where was that crook talks at before that? That's what I'm saying, bro. Like that stuff be so lame, bro.
See, yeah, but yeah, that's to your earlier thing, right? Because it's like, okay, you've been the WBC champion at 130 pounds. You've been the WBC champion at 135 pounds. All right. So regardless of this
he wasn't WBC at 26
situation, right?
He wasn't WBC at 26.
No, he was WBO at 26.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So you have been involved in some capacity with the WBC since you were the world champion at 130 pounds. So, to your point, or to what you're presenting is, if you think that they have been kind of like sketchy, why didn't you kind of like address it before?
But to give you more points, why didn't he go out there and fight with his big brother Terrence Crawford when the WBC was trying to charge him like $500K? Where was he at?
Like he could have, well, I guess he could have sent a message there, you know what I'm saying? After Terrence Crawford did what he did, he could have said, hey, I got this WBC belt, but hey, if you're doing this to Terrence Crawford, man, then I ain't gonna rock with you, So, but he still had the status of WBC lightweight champion up until the point that he had his fight against Teofimo Lopez, So it is.
And then another point is, I think if this guy never unified, he would never be talking about the WBC right like that, because I don't think he want to be undisputed. He's not moving like a guy that want to be undisputed. And if I'm not mistaken, when they asked him about undisputed, he was more in a Mayweather tip, to where he noticed like undisputed, they're gonna be taking like 4 times 3%. Know what I'm saying? So they looking at the math. Nah, that's not good business. So he already unified, so he don't care about unification, and he don't care about having a WBC because he's at the top now. So he's like, F him.
Yeah. He's basically, and remember, like one of the posts that he has out there is like, hey, he's boosting the ring belt like Terrence Crawford did. And saying, yeah, it's free or whatever it is, but we gonna see on that. Another thing that I kind of like saw on there.
Check out his other tweet, because I don't think that's the only. He had another one that he said something about it.
Let me just go back to his joints here. So, he retweeted the thing there from Chris Mannix. So I'm like, yeah, it is what it is. And see, it's like, and I just paid these dudes after my last fight. So what am I giving y'all 100K right now for? Because y'all got beef with Bud. So
he was nowhere to be found in that beef with Bud. He did not voice his opinion. He's one of the biggest known guys in boxing, so his voice means a lot. If he would have voiced his opinion as a current WBC champ, it would have meant a lot. It would have went further, along with Crawford and whoever else would have hopped in there as your big bro or this brother stuff that y'all be talking about. Where was you at?
So yeah, as I was mentioning, I mean, he held the status for some time up until January 31st. So it is what it is. We're gonna see. Like I said, tomorrow afternoon, I will be speaking with uh, Mauricio Suleiman, and that's going to be, of course, one of the biggest topics that I'm going to bring up and get what he's going to say there on that front. One other thing that I was going to share there that's been on X is this. It should be Devin Miles Haney on here, and he says, "Me and Shakur is the next biggest fight in boxing. I want him in Keyshawn, little bro, then big bro." Man, because we had like all this stuff going on during the during the Drake there for Ring 6. Keyshawn Davis calling out Devin Haney. Shakur Stevenson, in there with the Connor Ben. And yes, I know about, when they were on the Ariel Helwani show some time back. Whatever. This is going to what you've been talking about, Neverfold, as far as like not wanting to unify, not, trying to face the top guys within the division.
Man, yo, you gotta chill. They say I be hating, bro.
And I'm like, man, like Shakur, you become a 4 division champion. Okay, you unified in 1 division against Oscar Valdez. But if we at least from my perspective, right? If we know that you may not get the fight against Tank Davis or whatever it is, that should be I'm putting that out of the conversation right now, right? The next best thing that you can do is unify the division that you're going to be competing in.
Yep.
Devin Haney's up there at 147 pounds. And Devin Haney's up there at 147 pounds because right now in his career, he has to be around 147 pounds. That's why he only had 1 fight or whatever it is, technically or whatever, against or at the 140-pound division against Regis, right? So
140?
Yeah, pretty much at 140, right? And then the whole thing with Ryan, right? So my thing is here with even with Devin Haney, I got something for him too. Okay. They shouldn't really be talking about fighting each other, at least from my perspective. They really shouldn't be talking about fighting each other at this point. Shakur, you could have fights at 140 pounds. Yes, you've talked about one potential fight at 140 pounds in Lamont Rhodes Jr., right? But we don't know what the status is of Lamont Rhodes Jr. as of yet.
He's cleared the fight. He mentioned that today.
Okay, yeah, okay, cool. Like he has his thing there with his channel and stuff like that. So I did see him there, at the Pro Box joint on Friday, but I ain't really talked to him, that much on whatever it is. So he said he could be ready to go. Now if they had that fight, hey, you can do that. I don't mind it. But you got these, like you were saying, Neverfold. 140 is one of the deepest divisions out there in boxing. So you shouldn't really entertain a fight at 147 pounds, whether it's against Connor Ben or Devin Haney or anybody else that's out there at 147. That's on one side. The other side is this here with Devin Haney. He has his post here. He says, okay, him versus Shakur is the next biggest fight in boxing. He will want that fight, and he will want Keyshawn Davis. Keyshawn Davis is also at 140. He just had his first fight at 140 there against Jermaine Ortiz. He shouldn't even entertain that. Okay? The fight that should be out there for Devin Haney right now is really contingent on what happens in a few weeks.
The rematch.
There we go. And I've said it even after all of the stuff that was going on after the first fight. I said the biggest fight that Devin Miles Haney could have after that is a rematch against Ryan Garcia. If Ryan Garcia ends up defeating Mario Barrios and gets that WBC welterweight title, then you have a big unification bout there at 147 pounds. And they could have that by the end of this year. That would be, like I said, that would be another one of those things that could be a potential super fight. You know, so at least for me, I would say that Devin Haney should, kind of like entertain that here at this point. As far as like what happened, outside the ring, or I mean not outside the ring, but during that
Drug
weekend,
cheating?
no, that's the thing there with as you say, what
Oh, you talking about the fight?
I'm talking about the fight. You know,
They did
um,
him bad.
who knows what that is going to result in? I don't know what Tiger Johnson is going to do at this point, but if that ends up for some reason getting cleared up, then hey, you should direct your attention to what happens on February 21st, because if there's a way that Ryan is able to have the fight, because according to Neverfold, he shouldn't basically be in this fight in the first place because of what he's doing. And then after that, if Ryan defeats, Mario Barrios, then you should go ahead and have that unification. That should be the fight.
So with me, is this right? It's good that you're also calling out the BS that they doing between all of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you see what Keyshawn is doing, right? Keyshawn just had a fight with Jermaine Ortiz in the biggest fight, not the biggest card of the year so far, right?
Mm-hmm.
After he won, he called out who? Devin Haney. Now, this guy, not even a day after or 24 hours after, a day after, he's talking about fighting Lewis Crocker and fighting other people at 140. Bro, what type of clout chasing stuff are you doing? Then you got Shakur Stevenson calling out Conor Ben. He want rehydration clause, but this hypocrite Shakur Stevenson was the main guy getting on fighters for putting on rehydration. Oh, that's for cowards. I wouldn't want fighters not come in at their full. Like, I wouldn't do that. But now he calling out for rehydration clause. Now he want to fight Haney with a rehydration clause. Now you go out there and fight Haney and beat him on a rehydration clause. They're not gonna give you your credit. Even you are on video saying the same thing, bro. Then Devin Haney talking about fighting Shakur Stevenson. He knows that he won't fight Shakur if Shakur don't fight him at a even playing field. He already said, yo, remember when he first got cheated, he said, yo, he's no longer fighting at a weight class, right? He said he's gonna choose the weight class that he fight at, right? Then he allowed Ramirez to pick the 144 cash weight, but he said he wasn't gonna fight at a weight class, right? They asked him, well, are you coming back to 40? He said he's never coming back to 40. Then when he moved to 40, he said he might come down to 35 to fight the Tanks and the Shakurs. Then after that, he said he's never going back to 35. Y'all can get that out your mind. So they doing a whole bunch of clout chasing, a bunch of bozo activities. You have to get back for what happened to you in that ring. You got cheated, and you need to get back whatever way you need to get back in the ring. So all the stuff seem like WWE. They just... You got Shakur that's talking about fighting Conor Ben. Who asked you to fight Conor Ben? Does Conor Ben have a belt at 147? Because if you're going to move to 47, you might as well fight for a belt, because that's better for your resume, because now you're a 5 times 5-weight division champ, right? Then you got the Keyshawn Davis. He's at 140. Bro, fight for a belt and then go to 47. That way, if you're going to fight a Devin Haney, you a 2-weight division champ, and you a current champ at a lower weight division, more money, and then it's better for you, right? But he's clout chasing Devin Haney, knowing that Eddie Hearn probably got other plans for him. I seen him in video with Dalton Smith. I even heard him on saying that he would go in the UK and fight the Lewis Crockers at 47, fight the Dalton Smith.
So the thing is, they may have it to where Keyshawn could be working in some capacity with Matchroom Boxing.
Yep, Top Rank don't have a home.
Yep. Well, there's that. Yeah. But yeah, I'm like, why would you entertain going up to 147 when you could have a multitude of fights that are available for you at 140 pounds? You mentioned that thing there, bringing up the thing with Dalton Smith. That would be one that, hey, you could have that's right there in front of you, right? Because guess what? You, as the former WBO lightweight champion, you moved up to 140. Yes, they ended up stripping you of that 135 belt, but guess what? The WBO gave you a solid and made you the number one contender for the WBO belt at 140. Now that your brother is the WBO champion, what are you gonna do? Like, hey, guess what? You know, I don't know if they're gonna have him at what is it, super champion status? I don't think they got Shakur at super champion status, right?
Man, you just brought something to my mind. Remember Shakur said that when he moved up to 40, he beat Teofimo. He's gonna drop the belt so that Keyshawn can take it. Let's see if he do that.
That's what I've been saying. Like, you know, we got, well, let me see here, because
That's why they ain't gonna like me, bro. Because with me, you can say I'm hating all you want to, because I'm bringing facts and things that I seen and heard.
See? So that's the thing, right? They got Shakur Stevenson, like they just posted up there, him as the champion. He's not the super champion, okay? Remember, Teofimo Lopez had that status as, you know, either having the WBO belt for a certain amount of time or, you know, just having that status because he had those defenses of that belt, right? Now, what is the WBO going to do when you've had Keyshawn in an eliminator bout against Jermaine Ortiz, and now you have a new world champion? The last mandatory that had the defense was T.O. versus Barboza in May. We're about to get to May here in a few months. What are y'all going to do? Are y'all going to actually call for a mandatory? Because these fighters ain't going to be fighting before May. They're not. So what is the status going to be? Are you going to actually force their hand and say, hey, Shakur Stevenson, we got Keyshawn Davis here as the number one contender. We're going to make them the mandatory challenger. Now what are you going to do? You know, I don't think they're going to have it to where, oh, Shakur Stevenson, guess what? You know, we just going to have you drop the belt. Nah. Mm-mm. So, like, I'll really be interested to see what would happen next. What would be the moves for Shakur Stevenson and Keyshawn Davis here on this sense? Because if you have Keyshawn that's saying that, hey, you know what? Maybe I'll just go this route for, you know, facing, you know, Dalton Smith, like, you know, you were saying, you know, that would be, you know, some crazy work if they did that. Because remember, the WBC, they recently like put up their ratings too, you know, like I was going to be talking about that tomorrow as well, right? With Dalton Smith. But here's the problem, right? Dalton Smith's a WBC champion. But guess what, y'all? They got an interim champion, right? So you got Isaac Cruz, right? You also got Alberto Puello. They had something in reference to him. So
yeah, I think that I heard that they said either they mandated Puello or they will mandate him.
They mandated Puello. They mandated him. So regardless of what the result was between Dalton Smith and Super and Matias, they had to fight Puello next, right? So then they got, you know, Sandor Martin at 2, Matias at 3. They got this Arthur Beerslanov, NABF champion, I guess, at number 4. Then they got Tio on there, and then they got Keyshawn on there. So that's going to be interesting how that is going to sort itself out. But yeah, I'm looking to see what happens with the WBO if they're going to eventually put in an order for Keyshawn to be the mandatory for that WBO title. because outside of that, I don't know what they're going to do on that front. And I ain't even see what the IBF was talking about because I don't think they even updated their ratings yet. So it's going to be a wild situation on that. All right. So, that's, mainly what I had, going through the rundown here for the midweek report. Shout out to Neverfold Sports here to, chop it up on this edition. Here we're going to be, like I said, we'll be right back at it with the Boxing Source podcast. We got some fights that are coming up this week here. Man, we supposed to have that world title fight, man. We got a world title fight that is on the schedule here. What is it? Nick Ball versus Brandon Figueroa. That's this weekend. You're supposed to have like something with the WBA interim title in the light heavyweight division tomorrow, but Albert Ramirez was hospitalized, so that fight between him and Lerone Richards is completely scrapped. But we do have Nick Ball versus Brandon Figueroa on this weekend over in Liverpool, so that might be an interesting bout with Nick Ball and then Brandon Figueroa having another attempt at a world title there on that front. You know what I mean? So
you know what I was saying today? I was looking at like the best divisions, like the 68s, the 54, the 40. I'm like, bro, these guys ain't trying to unify the titles. Why not? They need to do a tournament. Because 40 right now, imagine the tournament at 40 and 54 and 68.
That would be crazy. Yeah. Especially at 60. Well, 68 should have one, We talked about the joint about 54 on Sunday. 140, they should have it at 140 as well. That could be something there. So, but that reminds me, I got to post up the thing there for the 154 tournament, on the Boxing Source website. So I'll have to get that done and then post that. But I'm still working on a couple more interviews that I have to post up. Shout out to John Scrappy Ramirez. I was able to talk with Scrappy earlier today. So I'll have that interview posted up. That one was a real conversation. You know what I'm saying? That one is like, how you could have like a series of questions and like, ask a fighter questions, but it almost is like, someone like you would just chop it up with, so it kind of like has that type of.
It's like deeper than a conversation, like you really talking to a homie or something like
that. Yeah. Yep. So that's kind of like how, the interview with Scrappy Ramirez is like. So I'm going to have that here posted up here, I guess, by the night. But yeah, I got to still catch up with some more stuff with, what is it? Shelly Finkel and the thing there with Amir Abdallah there. I have to see if I can post that up there from Matt Brown of Brunch Boxing as well too. So
now, did you see the lawsuit? Mayweather lawsuit?
No, I haven't read that lawsuit.
No, I'm not saying reading it. Did you hear about it?
Yeah, I heard about it. You know what I mean? I heard about it. That. Oh, what I could say.
What you could say? Are you in it too?
No.
Don't tell me for it suing you too.
Like I'm not. Yeah, I'm not part of. I'm not named in it or nothing like that. But it.
Yo, Clarence, what's good, my G?
Yeah, shout out to my guy there, no Duck Zone in the building there, man. Clarence in here. It kind of like goes into, I guess, what had been going on when Heyman and them started up, so to speak, right? So you would have it to where, yeah, it benefits the fighters in some senses, but in the other sense, like you could get it to where, it could not benefit the sport or it could hurt the sport. But here in this particular instance, it's almost like they're saying or Floyd is saying that he should have got more out the deal that he did. You know what I mean? So I don't know how that's going to sort itself out. I got to see who Floyd has as a team, because you're going up against somebody that's, experienced. They're experienced, attorneys or lawyers or something like that. So it's all about terminology and lingo, So we'll see how that turns out. That's going to be another story there in the courts, just like the Virgil Ortiz versus Golden Boy is going to be.
The craziest thing I heard about that was that Showtime said that the audits got lost in a flood or something like that.
Oh yeah. Like, come on, man.
Nasty work.
That's insane. Come on. Lost in the flood. Come on, yo. Yeah, nah. Not in this day. Nah. Mm-mm. Come on, y'all. So yeah, that's what I guess we'll look into also here at the Boxing Source. But like I said here with the midweek report, covered as much as we could here in this edition of the midweek report. A lot of stuff to still post, a lot of stuff to catch up on here in this instance for the Boxing Source. But thanks for everyone that's been able to tune in, follow, hit the like button, hit the share button, whether you're on YouTube or Rumble here, and follow on social media. And we'll have more here for y'all as we do. So once we get some things going, then y'all will know about it. But like I said, for tomorrow, you'll have the interview with Mauricio Suleiman. I'll post it up too. So we got that's on deck as well. So y'all look forward to that. But I'll catch y'all later on. Till next time, y'all. Peace.